Hello everyone, my name is Protesilaos, also known as Prot. In this video, I'm not sure what I will talk about exactly, but we will see. So we will talk with Christian and figure it out. This is how I start my day, basically. I take a look at my agenda, and depending on what I have to do, I will organize my day accordingly. I will see a message. For example, I am reading my email. Of course, I can reply to those emails from here. I can set a date of when I wanted to do it. So let's say I will do it today at 21 hours, and you will see it's right here.
That's what you hear everywhere nowadays. If I watch a movie on Netflix and a series, I see drugs being recommended everywhere, like marijuana. That's very common. And I used to do it a lot in the past. I don't do anymore. So, what are your thoughts on alcohol and overall substance abuse?
If you're listening to this as a podcast, remember that it was originally recorded as a video. If you're not following along, you can go to my YouTube channel. My username is linkarzu. And if you want to support me to keep this podcast going, you can donate in Kofi. I'm going to leave a link in the description. All right, so let's get started with this chapter then.
So, Prat, we're live. Really appreciate that you're here. Thank you very much for your time. Just to give a little bit more context to the people that is watching this, So I did a Neovim versus Emacs video a few days ago, and a name showed up in the comments, not only in the video comments, but also in the Reddit comments. You should bring Prot. You should talk to Prot. A lot of people brought it up, and I was like, what are these guys talking about? Because I don't know too much about Emacs, right? So they mention your name in a lot of different places, like if it's Emacs related, you should talk to Prot. So I reached out. You were kind enough to agree to this interview. So thank you very much. How are you doing, by the way?
I'm fine, thank you. And thank you for inviting me. And I saw some of your videos. I didn't know about you either because of the non-overlapping work that we do. And I watched some of your videos and I thought, oh, this is very good. High quality and also interesting things. And I'm like, yeah, of course, I'm on board. I am doing well. Last week, we had wildfires here. And they were too close for comfort. But the situation is under control and everybody is back to normal, and so am I. So, yeah, that's good.
Were you affected by the wildfires? I watched your video, the one about the wildfires. Me and my wife also watched other videos to see how the situation was there. It was pretty bad, right?
The closest they reached was 300 meters, give or take, away from here. So I had to leave my place and get to higher and safer ground. And eventually I came back at night. So I basically left for almost a full day.
Okay.
But yeah, not to dramatize it. It could have been much worse. So it was just an inconvenience in the end.
It didn't affect you directly, right?
No. It was just that for those 2 days where the wildfires were raging, I didn't get any sleep. And I just had to walk under the heat. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, that's not a problem.
Oh, and what did you do? You were carrying your backpack, your dogs, and just walking? Or what did you do for those?
Yep.
Yeah.
So the backpack, puppies in arm, and the other 2 dogs, the older ones, were following along. And yeah, we went further away from here in successive steps. It's not in like I couldn't go like 10 kilometers in one go carrying the puppies, but we went in successive smaller journeys until we reached the point where we were about 10 kilometers away at a spot over there from where I could see the valley here. And as soon as I saw that things were under control and the wind was shifting, I was like, okay, time to go back.
Okay, cool. So you have 4 dogs, 2 big dogs and 2 small ones, right?
Yeah, correct. So the older dogs are about 10 years old each, and the puppies are 2 months old.
Oh, okay. Now, can I ask you a favor, Prat? Would you mind saying your intro, the one that you do on every video?
Hello, everyone. My name is Protesilaos, also known as Prot. in this video, I'm not sure what I will talk about exactly, but we will see. So we will talk with Christian and figure it out.
Awesome. Let me bring up our names here because I have our names. Where did they go?
And while you are looking for that, just to say that intro, I never thought of it. I never thought it through. It's just something I would always do to introduce myself to people. Because my full name is kind of difficult to remember or pronounce.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first thing I would tell people is like, hey, hello. And I would shake their hand. My name is Protesilaos, also known as Prot.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough to pronounce for someone that is not where you're at. So you're in Cyprus. Where is that? Would you mind sharing a little bit about Cyprus for someone that doesn't have an idea at all?
So I also have it here on the Google Earth, so I can share as well the screen if you prefer.
Okay.
So let's see it. Where is it? No, it's here. So you are in Central America over there, and I'm zooming out. And now I am traveling to the east to the crossroads of 3 continents. Here is Europe, here is Africa, here is Asia. And if we zoom in here to the Eastern Mediterranean Sea, we find Cyprus. And I am, if we zoom into Cyprus further, we see this large mountain range. So this is where I live, somewhere here.
Okay. And are you originally from Cyprus or?
No, originally I am from Greece, which is this country over here.
Oh.
And in Cyprus, there are Greek Cypriot people and Turkish Cypriot people. So where I live, there are a lot of Greek Cypriots. It's the Greek Cypriot parts.
And why did you end up in?
It's a complex political situation, basically.
Oh yeah. And why did you end up in Cyprus?
So I was basically not a good student when I was growing up in Greece. And I didn't care about going to a university there. I wasn't paying attention. And eventually I was disqualified. But I had to go to university because the career plan I was originally pursuing, that of becoming a football player, didn't pan out. I had an injury, a serious injury, so I had to quit. So I was like, oh my goodness, from football player to scientist is quite the U-turn. So I went to register for a private college, and there was a good option in Cyprus. So I was like, okay, I will go to Cyprus. And that's how I ended up here originally. I did my studies in Cyprus, and I was working and studying. I was studying European politics, economics, and law. While I was studying, I started my website where I was writing about the economic crisis. You may remember the financial crisis post-2008. And I was writing about that specifically with a European focus. And long story short, a member of the European Parliament, so in Brussels, started reading my blog, at some point contacted me, and eventually I went to Brussels to work without even having first finished my degree. And so the last 6 months of my degree, I had to do them via Brussels, via email correspondence.
Oh.
So I was working there.
So it was because of your blog post then, right?
Yeah. So I was writing and I knew all these things about the European Union. So the politician thought that I would be a good addition to his office to help there. And that's how it went.
Oh.
So I went to Brussels, and then when I decided that I didn't like the world of politics, I was like, I have to go somewhere where there are mountains. So I decided to come to Cyprus because I had visited the mountains here, and I was like, this is very nice.
Oh, yeah. Someone in the comments, you probably didn't see it, Roman said that he has visited these mountains. I'm not sure if Cyprus or I would assume he's talking about Cyprus. Roman, I don't know where Roman is. He's another YouTuber as well. I have had him in my channel too. Okay. Yeah. And so what are you then like? Because you do philosophy. I really like your philosophy videos. I enjoy them because I'm just trying to have a better life. I have a pretty wild life in the past, so I've changed and all that. I'm trying to stick to better values, we could say. But what are you then? Like, are you a philosopher? Are you a programmer? Are you a little bit of everything? You mind sharing that with us?
Yeah. I think a little bit of everything would be appropriate, though. If I had to say, I would say philosopher.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't really cling on to the description because I could just say, I'm just a regular guy in the mountains who has an opinion about stuff and who occasionally writes programs and writes articles on other issues. Because the thing is, one general feature of our world is that you sort of identify with the label you attach to yourself. And so you say, I am a philosopher or a programmer or whatever. And now you have to sort of perform in a manner that is consistent with whatever the expectations are for that label. And so let's say if you are a philosopher, you are expected to be reading books all day or have a certain polite way of talking and I don't know what. Whereas I don't want to have those expectations bestowed upon me. I'm like, you know what? I'm just my own person. And if a philosopher is an easy way for us to communicate, that's fine. But I am not committed to it.
Oh, yeah. And if you say you're an Emacs maintainer, everyone will be expecting for you to maintain Emacs packages the whole time. And if they see you doing a philosophy video, they'll be like, Prot, what are you doing with your life? Like, you should be doing Emacs, right? So, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. And you have a YouTube channel, right?
Mhm.
Is that where people can find you? Like, what is the medium that you use the most? Is it your blog post? Is it your YouTube channel? Like, what is the main source
So
of?
the most important, like the main medium I have is my website.
Okay.
So protesilaos.com. It's the platform that I have maintained since 2011. It's how I got to the European Parliament, actually. And I have been writing ever since. There are over 1,500 articles there, many of them long form. And I write on a number of issues. So on YouTube, I mostly do Emacs and philosophy. Sometimes I also talk about my life here. But on my website, I will really write about all sorts of other issues, including politics, as well as comments on everyday issues, um, emails I may respond to that are worth talking about in public, as well as comments I may have on pieces of art and things of that more general nature. Uh, the thing is, there isn't a audience per se for all of these. So what I do is publish distinct RSS feeds for each of them. RSS/Atom feeds. So anybody who is interested can follow whatever they want.
So the main thing is the website then. And why did you decide to get started with YouTube?
When I started, I think it was 2016, I wanted to do some videos on politics, on the topics I was working on at the time. Because fundamentally, I was living away from an English speaking world. I was living in the mountains of Cyprus, and I wasn't practicing my English speaking skills. And I was searching for a pretext to do exactly that. So I started publishing there, not that frequently. I think I started publishing more frequently circa 2018, maybe, where I did some videos about Vim, tmux, and the Linux related setup I had at the time. Again, in the interest of practicing my English. And eventually I discovered Emacs, and then I kept doing videos from there.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that you were a football player, you were in politics. Do you also do programming? Did you study programming or?
So growing up, I was basically the opposite of a typical nerd. So I wasn't introduced to any computer device, nothing. I never had any experience with programming or mechanical engineering, whatever, any kind of related field, nothing. So I was just a kid playing football and doing that sort of a more sporty life. And at some point, I also discovered motorcycles and I was having a lot of fun with that. But nothing related to computers. Eventually, around 2012 or something, I got my first laptop at work. I was in Brussels at the time. And I started learning magical things such as Alt-Tab and Control-C, Control-V. And I'm like, wow, you can do that on the computer. This is so amazing. It's so productive. And eventually I discovered Linux. I think it was the summer of 2016 when I first switched to Linux. And from then on, I started writing very, very little small programs and learning by doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I was never introduced to programming in any formal capacity.
Oh, so you did it by yourself then?
Yeah. And at the time, I started by writing shell scripts, which calling them shell scripts is already giving them too much credit because it would literally be one shell command after the other without any control flow. So it was like, yeah.
Okay. And you got started with Linux then. What are your thoughts on the two other operating systems, Windows and macOS?
So I used Windows a little bit when I was in university. I was using it at the labs there where I would have to type like this my assignments. But I don't have an opinion about Microsoft because I've never used it at home, so I don't really know. About the Mac, it's the laptop I had. I thought it was a very good operating system. But I haven't used it recently to be able to have a more informed or a more attentive view of its features. At the time, I had a positive impression, though.
Okay.
Like if I were to use it now, to give you a concrete example, I would be interested to see, okay, what is the developer experience like? Like how is it to set up a package manager and get all these Git repos that I need to work and set up all these dependencies and so on and so forth, build Emacs from source, etc.
Okay. Yeah. Linux and Mac is what people that do development use, right? It's one of those two. Some people are forced to use Windows. I don't have too much of experience with Windows, but I used Windows in the past for a long time. I'm actually using Windows at my current job right now. Unfortunately, I don't like the operating system. I feel it too clunky, just to switch apps. I don't know. It's different, and since it's not Unix based, starting from there, since I spend all of the day in the terminal, we don't have a good start there with Windows, so it's a little bit more difficult. Yeah.
But do you prefer, like between Mac and Linux, do you have a preference?
I cannot give you an educated opinion on Linux because I only use Linux on servers, right? All of my different servers, I run Debian on them. I don't have a GUI there, right? So I just SSH into the servers and I just manage stuff that way. So that is awesome. That works extremely well for me. I love Linux in that way, but I have not installed it on a desktop computer and used it, day to day to see what benefits I would have, what drawbacks. Of course, privacy is a huge benefit and why a lot of people use it. So that's in my plans. I want to install Linux and daily drive it to have a better opinion about it because I cannot say anything about it at this point. Yeah. What distribution do you use? What distro? Linux distro?
So right now I am on Debian stable. On this computer, the desktop, before I switched to Debian, I was on Arch Linux for about 4 years. And before that, it was again Debian and Arch. Those are the two distros I have used.
And what are your thoughts on Arch, or why the move to Debian?
I think Arch is an excellent distro. I don't get the people who say Arch breaks all the time. Like, I don't understand how you can break it. I haven't managed to do that. Of course, if you are careless, you can break anything for sure. But I mean, if you do the basic things right, it's rock solid. I really like Arch. The thing, though, is that if you don't have a use case for getting the latest and greatest, you are not really gaining anything from Arch. All you are doing is you are just installing gigabytes upon gigabytes of new updates, which change literally nothing to your workflow.
Okay.
Whereas on Debian, like, to give you an idea of what I need here, I have Emacs, which is my main application, then some peripheral applications like a web browser and the image viewer and video player, that sort of thing, for which I don't care what version they are. Like, my video player, I don't care; it just works. The web browser just works. So unless there is a very good reason to get a newer version of something, I don't need it, and I haven't had such a reason.
Makes sense. I have been thinking about that, which distro to use. Everyone tells me Arch. Well, not everyone, but most people tell me to use Arch. But I'm kind of on the same boat as you. I care about stability, and I care about just if something works, I just hope it to work, for a long time. I don't want to be updating stuff if I don't need to. So I don't know. Maybe trying out Arch for the experience, but if I'm going to use it as a daily driver, Debian. I like Debian. I don't know. I do like Debian on the servers. I don't know how it is in the desktop. People complain that the packages are quite old. Do you have any issues with that?
Well, strictly speaking, that's true. Of course, they are old, but that's not a problem in itself. Like, I use an old Firefox, but I load the page just the same. So what exactly does a new Firefox bring to the table? Of course, if you are really interested in the updates that Mozilla releases every 4 weeks or whatever, then yes, you need an alternative. But if you just want to open a website, then usually you are good with the old packages.
I have a question. The only thing that I would care about probably is security updates. Let's say that there's a critical, security vulnerability. How does that work?
Those are delivered. Yeah, those are delivered in a timely fashion. Yeah.
Okay.
So basically on Debian, you can enable so-called unattended upgrades or updates, which basically are security patches.
Awesome.
And you don't even need to do the upgrade manually. It just happens.
Okay. Do you use OBS for your videos?
Yeah.
Do you install it from a repo, or do you use a flatpak?
I'm not sure, to be honest, because I haven't done it in a while. I would guess that it's the flatpak.
Flatpak, okay.
Yeah, I would guess so. And good that you mentioned that. For a few apps that you want them to be self-contained and to be at the new cutting edge, you just go with flatpak.
Okay, so you do use some flatpaks here and there then?
There is OBS. There is the Signal desktop client, I think. And maybe one more. Maybe the Telegram client, I think. And that's it.
Oh, okay. Now, would you mind sharing with us what the difference is? Because I get them confused all the time. What's the difference between open source and free software? Are they the same thing or?
In some respects, they are the same thing. In practical terms, from an end user perspective, you get access to the code, you have the liberty to modify it and to share it. So in a very practical sense, you cannot tell the difference. Where the differences begin to emerge is on matters of emphasis, rhetoric, and thus ideology, you may say. So open source, the open source movement, tries to be more, let's say, business friendly. So they are like, hey, there is like the MIT license, for example. It's a permissive license. And what it basically means is that, hey, dear Apple, let's say, here is some source code you can use it in your proprietary software. You can use it on your phones, on your computers. And all you need to do is say that, hey, this package is also part of the packages we share. So there, they are just trying to accommodate and to play nicely with parts of the world where software freedom is not a priority. Whereas a free software package will be like, hey, here is some source code. Here are the concomitant freedoms you have for it. And here is your, meaning you who will get the software, here is your commitment to abide by the same rules. And so the free software movement will tend to emphasize the freedom aspect of it. So we have the freedom, and you should also preserve and respect that freedom. And you will see that epitomized in the GNU General Public License, for example, where they give you certain liberties and they demand that if you modify the software and share it, you share it under the same terms.
Okay.
And so Apple cannot take, let's say, Emacs and package it together with a proprietary Apple Emacs or whatever and share it like that.
Okay. So the goal is to keep that software free and open source for the rest of the time.
Yes, that's exactly it. And part of this is the users of free software, because of course it's not just code and program, it's also the people, right? So the users of free software will tend to speak more about these virtues. So they won't just tell you, hey, open source is better because you can fix the bugs, because you can look at the source code, which of course is true, you can do that. But they will tell you that free software is better because you are empowered to use it in a way that makes sense to you. There won't be some operator, like a proprietary actor, who can arbitrarily change the rules, and now you have no freedom.
Okay. Okay, got it.
And so depending on who you talk to in the free software space, you will get this impression that there is a political activism component to their computing.
Yeah, feels like it sometimes. Yeah. Okay. And do you have any thoughts on supporting open source? People that, do open source. What are your thoughts on that? Like supporting open source maintainers, basically. Do you have any thoughts or anything you want to share about that?
I think it's a very good idea. And even if you approach this from a free software perspective, it's consistent with the principles of free software, because free software is not about price, it's about liberty. So they say libre software, another way of saying it, or they use this phrase free as in speech, not free as in beer. But the point is that we give you the liberty to use software in a way that is liberating and empowers you. But we can also sell together with that, let's say, a support contract, or what I do, some coaching or whatever. Something that doesn't infringe your freedoms, doesn't limit your freedoms, but also provides a stream of income for the programmer.
Now, this is just
So yes, I would say I'm in favor. If there are arrangements for that, yes.
Okay. This is just my personal perception. I'm not talking in your behalf or anything, but I have the feeling, that some people, not all of them, some people in the open source community think that this is just a one-way relationship. You as the maintainer has to give because it's open source, and do not expect anything in return. So I don't know, it's a tough and delicate topic to talk about, because open source maintainers, they have to eat, they have to live somewhere. Most of them, or some of them, have families to maintain, so they cannot dedicate themselves to open source in full. They have to work for a company to be able to, live basically. So I don't know. That's just my perception of it. That you as a maintainer have to give, and not expect anything in return. So
yeah, I also have the same impression. It happens a lot, and I think it is up to the maintainers to a certain degree to educate their users, to try to foster a community, and I would say to basically have a face, because for as long as you are a person behind a pseudonym, like, I don't have a relationship with you. Like, you might as well be an AI bot these days. I don't know. So I cannot feel emotionally connected with you. So if you tell me, hey, my kids are starving, I need money to feed them, I don't feel anything. But if I know you, like who you are, what you are doing, and I see what kind of person you are, then yes, I am more inclined to help. And I think people will connect more with that human aspect of it.
mm,
Because otherwise, I don't see a way of working around this issue. Because we have these big projects like Emacs.
Yeah.
Emacs is a massive program that has been around for half a century. And it is, to me, it is a travesty that a program like Emacs is underfunded and understaffed in that regard.
Yeah.
And you might say underappreciated, because of course, if you are not paying, if you are not helping the people who maintain it, then maybe you are not showing your appreciation enough. And of course, multiply that for everything else that we use.
Yeah. I guess most of the Emacs maintainers have to work for a company, and in some of the free time that they have, they can contribute it to Emacs because it's a tool that they use, of course, and they love. So they want Emacs to be better. But imagine how Emacs could be, or any other open source project, right? If it would get the love that it deserves, right? If maintainers could say, okay, I'm not going to work for a big company because I'm getting what I need to support this tool. I don't know. Um, could be a different, way of operating in the open source community. We wouldn't rely too much on big companies because sometimes, I don't know, projects have to rely on support from big corporations because they don't get any other support. So it's tough, right?
Yeah, it is exactly that. And then, of course, you get into this conundrum where, in order to support free software and freedom, let's focus on free software, but it applies to open source, right? In order to support free software, you have to earn income, potentially contributing to non-free software. Which, of course, raises the question: why not try to have both free software and then a living wage, some source of income that is viable?
Yeah. Okay.
It's not easy, of course, but I think it's worth trying.
Yeah.
But what is I think important is to remove the stigma that exists whenever some open source free software maintainer asks for money. I don't think that is a bad thing, and I don't think it helps when we conflate freedom of software with free stuff, gratis, like free of charge. I don't think that helps anybody.
Yeah. And as a maintainer, I guess that you feel bad asking for money when you should not, it's, I don't know. Yeah. People don't approach it like too open, like, hey, I need money. Can you please just support? No, it's like, hey, they don't even mention it to avoid getting in trouble because people get offended if you ask for support.
Yeah, it's exactly that, because there will be backlash from users. And then you, as a maintainer, have an incentive to remain silent so that you don't have to deal with trouble. And then, of course, that's not a good situation. It's a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, agree. Now, I want to get to know Emacs a little bit better, because I want to hear your thoughts on another tool. to start with. Have you used Neovim or just Vim? What are your thoughts on those two?
I was using Vim, and then at around maybe 2018, Neovim came along, or at least came into my radar, and I used it for a while. It seemed good, but I couldn't see the upside of it at the time. So I never used the Neovim in earnest. To me, it felt like, okay, Vim, but maybe the future of Vim because it will be maintained. But at the time, it was still basically the same as Vim. Looking now at the ecosystem, what I understand as an outsider is that basically Neovim took the source code of Vim and infused it with the spirit of Emacs. And what I mean by this is that basically they were like, how can we use this platform? How can we use this editor as a computing platform so that we can eventually have a more integrated setup where we do more and more things inside of Vim? And you can, of course, what you can do with it. But the idea is to have something that you control more, and it's not just a generic text editor.
Yeah, you can now view images in Neovim. That's something that only Emacs could do, right? We don't have variable heading sizes like in Emacs, right? But this, I don't know if you've heard of him, but there's a terminal creator named Kovid. He created the Kitty terminal. He's working on a variable font size protocol, so that could come to Neovim as well in the future. So, but you haven't used it, right? You just switch to Emacs.
No, I haven't.
And stay there, okay? And are you staying in Emacs for the rest of your journey?
I don't know. It's really comfortable here.
Yeah.
For me, basically, if I were to switch away from Emacs, it would effectively be to another Emacs. And what I mean by this is not Emacs, the name of the program, but Emacs, the paradigm of computing. And Emacs, qua paradigm of computing, is this idea of integrating more and more parts of your workflow into a setup that is consistent. So you will program it with one programming language. Whatever applies in one part of your setup will apply to other parts, such as your theme, your fonts, whatever custom functions you have written to manipulate text, all that. And eventually you get a more integrated computing environment.
Okay.
So if there is a better Emacs in that regard than GNU Emacs, yeah, I'm on for it. Why not?
Okay. Like an integrated environment, something that allows you to do basically everything, right?
Even if it's not everything, literally, it should give you the tools to extend it in a way that is seamless, in a way that you extend it as if there is no real distinction between the core and the extensions. Because that's basically the spirit, the paradigm of GNU Emacs and of other Emacs in the past, which is like, there is a distinction between core and packages, which is just conventional. Like in terms of code, it's the same.
Okay.
So if you have that kind of seamlessness, I'm all for it. Basically, what I'm saying is, don't give me a tool with a limited API and say, "Hey, here is your extensible editor." No, that's not the extensible, my friend. That's not what we have in mind.
Okay. Now, there's different ways to work in Emacs, right? I come from Neovim, and the way that I'm used to working in Neovim is with space. I don't know, there's Space Max, I think, in Emacs, right? Space Max, there's Doom Emacs, there's the traditional way of doing things. I don't know much about Emacs, so I just want to ask you, right? I think that the traditional way is with Control, and people complain that using Control a lot hurts your hands and all that. So as a person that doesn't know about Emacs at all, what would you recommend someone? Because most of my audience is in Neovim. I guess, I'm not sure, but I would assume most of them are in Neovim or are interested in Neovim. Pretty rare, just a few of them are in Emacs probably. But As a Neovim user that is used to doing space for key maps, right? What would you recommend, or what would you say is a good start? So to avoid friction, right? Because if it's too different from what you're used to, it's like, man, I'm not gonna get used to this. I'm going back to what I had. So,
well, of course, if you add the qualifier, the condition to avoid friction, then of course the answer is you have to use something as close to Neovim as possible, which would limit you to Doom Emacs and friends, basically. So it would be a flavor of Emacs that incorporates a Vim emulation layer. We call it evil mode. And then does things in the way you have described. So space would be a prefix key map, and then everything is nested under that. And otherwise, you have the familiar Vim keys to move around and to manipulate text. If, however, you take a broader view, which is what can a Neovim user learn from Emacs? Not necessarily to stick with Emacs, but to bring it back to Neovim so that you can broaden the Neovim experience. I would say give Emacs a fair try. Like, try it for a month, of course, provided you have that option, right? I'm not saying, hey, abandon your job, forget about your productivity, and now go and become an Emacs monk for a month.
that's what will
I'm not
happen.
saying that, but yeah, but assuming you have the option, like give it a full month, like try Emacs for a full month and try to think in terms of Emacs, like try to start from scratch or with a very basic config and then see, okay, how does Emacs do the equivalent of what Vim does? And then try to learn the Emacs ways. And then I think you will start appreciating what Emacs has to offer. Whether you stick with Emacs or not ultimately doesn't matter because it will give you a different perspective, which I think then you can bring back to Neovim. But just to say on the point of the control and all that, it is true, though this is also true if you use a regular keyboard with Vim keys, because depending on how you are typing, you might still be twisting your pinky to hit the shift or tab, or depending where you put the escape key, if it's on the caps lock or up in the corner, you may still be doing awkward motions with your fingers and your hands. So if you really care about ergonomics, I think the solution is not Vim keys per se. It's a proper keyboard setup, which might also have Vim keys on top. But you really have to think in terms of a custom keyboard or something along those lines.
And would you recommend someone?
I believe you use a custom keyboard, no?
Me?
Yeah, I believe you have a custom keyboard.
Yeah.
Like you don't use a regular
I have one of these
exactly.
split ones. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And would you recommend someone then starting with traditional Emacs like Ctrl or try a distro, or just use it the default way? Like,
I would say use it like, as I said, if you want no friction, etc., you use Doom Emacs, Space Max. There is now Kickstart Emacs or Kick Emacs, I forget.
But
from
do you lose
Raul.
From that experience? If you use one of those, do you lose on Emacs? Like, do you miss something? What are your thoughts there?
Potentially, yes. Not because they are not Emacs, not because they obfuscate things, but because you have that sense of familiarity which doesn't inspire in you an ethos of looking around. It doesn't inspire in you that search that you would otherwise have to do. You are like, okay, this is like Vim. I've been using this the whole time. I don't need to look up anything. So I don't think it will help you learn anything that is Emacs specific in that regard. But otherwise, of course, it's still Emacs. So if you go and you look into the source code, you will be looking at Lisp code. If you modify it, you will have to write some Emacs Lisp code and so on. So it's still Emacs, fully fledged Emacs, but because of the different expectations you bring with you, I think those will inhibit you if your goal is to explore Emacs.
Okay. Did you remap your control key or something? How do you use it? Or you have it at the default place?
So when I was using a regular keyboard, I was using Control on the caps lock, but I would say I don't think this is actually good advice. Like, it is in the sense that you can hit Control with your left pinky, and then let's say N and P with your right hand, right? But if you are doing anything like Control X, Control C, like imagine a QWERTY layout, right? Control X, Control. I don't think it's a good idea to use the same hand for both. Like in terms of ergonomics, you would need to use the opposite modifier key, so the Control on your right hand side, and activate whatever is on your left hand side. So yes, remap Control to caps lock, but remember that pressing and holding two keys with one hand is not a good idea for ergonomics.
So you have Control in both hands, right? Okay. Have you heard about homerow mods?
Yes. I tried. So of course, I'm also on a custom keyboard now.
What
right?
keyboard? What keyboard is it?
So this is the Iris keyboard from Kibio, Kib.io. Revision 8, I think.
Can you show it? I haven't seen it. How many keys does it have?
It's fewer than yours, but not. Wait, where are we here?
So it's 42 keys?
46, I think, maybe. Yeah, I have to count.
40? Okay.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. I could go for fewer, but I was playing it safe.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's have an extra column, let's have an extra row, just to be sure.
Yeah, I'm just using 40 keys because this one has 80 keys. It's called the Glove 80, has 80 keys. But now I found a keyboard mapper that I can use in macOS and Linux. It's called Kanata. So I'm just using 40 keys. On my MacBook keyboard, only 40 keys, and on the Glove 80. So I want to switch to a 42 key keyboard.
And have you found any candidates, or you're not yet?
The Corn, that's one that I want to try. That one has 42 keys, right? 42 keys. I need 40.
I believe there are a couple of variations of that. I think there is one with 6 columns and one with 5, or maybe I am conflating it with another one.
Yeah, I don't know too much about mechanical keyboards, to be honest. But there's a guy in my Discord that tells me all the time to go with the Ferris, I think it's called, but that one has like 34 keys, 36. And I would miss the rows that you get on the sides, right? For the pinky, like where tab in caps lock is in shift, because I'm using shift now, the dedicated shift key. So I don't think I could go lower than 40 because I would need to rearrange a lot of stuff.
Yeah, the thing is, because you mentioned homerow mods, the thing is that you have to basically have all your modifiers on the homerow.
Yeah.
If you go to, like, the fewer the keys, the more you have to,
Yeah, and there's a delay. I had shift in the modifier in the homerow. I had it there, but I couldn't stand the delay because there's a small delay that you have to get used to with homerow mods. And I couldn't get used to it with shift because I use shift too often. So I just moved it back to the... And what are your thoughts on homerow mods?
You already mentioned it. The delay annoys me to no end. I cannot stand it. And also the fact that unless you are really precise, you have false positives. Like, I would frequently activate a control when I didn't mean to, or not activate it when I wanted to, and that sort of thing. So with this keyboard, I am relying on the thumb cluster, so where that red key is at the bottom. So with the thumb cluster, and then everything is there, basically.
Okay, yeah. I set my timeout for the modifier keys, the Control, Alt, and the other one for macOS to 300 milliseconds. The delay is higher because usually people use 200, right? So the delay is higher, but I have less false positives, but I have to wait longer, so I have to get used to it. I don't get fully used to it, but I'm getting there, I think.
Yeah, the thing is, like, because you mentioned it now, if you are using Vim keys, chances are you don't do a lot of editing that involves Control Alt and the command key.
Yep.
So I guess you can tolerate that the delay, but of course, Shift, as you said, that would be annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But in Emacs, you cannot stand that delay in control, I would assume, right?
Yeah, because you use the modifiers a lot there. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a compromise. Like you have to really set your priorities.
Yeah.
And for me, the priorities are typing rather than having fewer keys.
Yeah. I have 6 thumb keys on this keyboard, but I'm just using 2. And let me explain why. Because on my laptop keyboard, right? When you're on the laptop keyboard, your thumb can only reach 2 modifiers, right? Because you cannot reach the other 2. They would be like too far away. Like it's unnatural. So I'm using just 2. So on my keyboard, I'm just using 2 thumb keys. One of them is space on each side, and the same modifier, one modifier on each side, which is backspace and enter, right? The same thing on my laptop keyboard. So I don't want to add more modifiers because I want the experience to be the same on the external keyboard and on the laptop keyboard, right? So they're exactly the same.
Yeah, because of course on the laptop you have the longer space bar.
Yeah. I don't think it makes sense. If they would make it shorter, you could have access to those modifiers, right? So spacebar here, one modifier, and the other set of modifiers. At least I think it would be better.
Yeah, plus a split in the spacebar, that would be very good.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so try the traditional Emacs, then is a recommendation that you have. I also noticed that you use light theme, and we live in a dark theme world. Why is that?
To be a contrarian. No, this is not the real answer. The reason is that I am in a well-lit space here. And if I use a dark theme, basically it will harm my eyes. So I use a light theme during the day and a dark theme when it's darker. So I also develop a lot of themes, by the way, for Emacs. And I have equal numbers of light and dark themes. So I don't know how many, but more than 20 for each.
Would you mind just showing the theme that you use or your favorite themes? Is that...
So, yeah, sure. Let me, 1 second. Where are we? So do you see my screen?
Let's see. Yep, I see it now.
Okay. So let me show you what I have here. So this is my light theme. This is the modus-operandi theme. What we are looking at here on the right-hand side is the man page output, which I use to lower my screen resolution. So we can dismiss that for now. And what we see here is an org buffer, and we see the headings with varying font sizes that you already mentioned. And maybe I can go and show some code. It doesn't really matter what it is, but let's see here. Do we have a defun? Yeah, this is some code as well. The idea with this theme is that it is designed for high contrast, for maximum legibility. And the contrast concretely is a minimum of 7:1. And that's what we see over here. I can switch to another theme. This is a variation of it. By the way, let me enable line numbers and you see this. So this is a variation of the same theme. It has a light earth colored background. And let me now switch to the dark ones. So there are also what you see here, tritanopia and deuteranopia. These are for color blindness. I want to demo these now. Let me switch to a dark theme. This is the regular dark theme. Same idea, high contrast. And again, 7:1, the minimum contrast ratio. And this one is a variation of it, which has a more dark blue sky kind of vibe to it. But as I said, during the day, it's this one over here, modus operandi. I have plenty of other themes, more colorful ones. So I can go and show you if you want. It's here. Of course, let me show you some. I won't show you the entire collection, but here is some pink one. Let me do some green one like this. Let's do some yellowish one like this. And their dark counterparts. So as I said, there are lots of them here. So let's do this, for example, for a dark one. Let's do the, actually, this would be good, yeah. Another dark one. And lots of different styles. So yeah, I develop all these.
Uh-huh.
And the idea with them is to be legible. Let me switch back to my light theme for now. So the idea for them is to be legible. The modus themes, what you are seeing here, they are also built into Emacs.
Oh,
So
okay.
starting with version 28.
So I heard people recommending those themes a lot. Modus-operandi and modus, what is it, vivendi, you said, right?
Correct. So operandi is the light one, vivendi is the dark one. And just to say, true to the spirit of Emacs, they are highly customizable, like a lot.
Oh, okay. And what would you like to show us about Emacs? Like someone just starting, right? What would you... Oh, I have a question for you. I have a question before that. In one of your videos, I noticed that you said that you take your notes in plain text and only revert to org when necessary. So would you mind explaining a little bit on the reasoning behind that?
So the idea is the following. When you are taking notes, it's very easy to distract yourself with matters of styling, with matters of markup. And this happens when you write, where you're like, this should be bold. Let me make this slanted text. There should be a code block here. I don't like the bullet list to be with dashes. Maybe I should have the plus sign. All these kind of considerations, which of course are useful when you are writing something that you will publish. But when you just want to write text, you shouldn't have that consideration. Like you should remove basically the temptation, the potential of distraction. So I'm like, you know what? I will just use plain text. And if I need, then of course I can go with org mode or Markdown or whatever.
So if I have an idea, I write it down. I don't care about bolding. I don't care about inline code. I don't care about anything. Just putting the thoughts out there. That's the main goal. And if you need to publish it, then you can, I don't know, copy it into an org file or something and, prettify it, basically, right?
Correct. And then you can polish it and publish it.
Makes sense.
And this is generally something which is, of course, true in a more general sense. Like there are these WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get, editors, where you modify, where you rather create the text and also modify its appearance. And then there is the other school of thought, which is you have to decouple the appearance from the contents. For example, LaTeX or these other publishing systems that we have. Org mode, of course, is one of these, where it's like there is a lightweight markup, but you don't worry about the layout of the page. That's something else. So I think in that line of thinking is also what I am doing, which is forget about the styles, forget about the presentation, focus on the text, get the ideas out there, elucidate your thoughts in a manner that is clear, and then you will have time to tinker with the style.
Okay. What are your thoughts on org mode and Markdown?
Sorry, give me a second. Let me open the door to the puppies. 1 second. So let me just do that, and then they will go out.
They want to have their free time.
Yeah, it's their time of the day where we normally go out there to play. So yeah, there they are. So they are here.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry for that. So yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. So what are your thoughts on org mode and Markdown? Like, do you use Markdown at times, or once you go to org mode, you see Markdown as what is that basic and useless format?
So my website is built with Jekyll, the static site generator.
Mm-hmm.
And this is because I made the technology decision in 2016, long before I discovered Emacs. Jekyll uses Markdown, and for me, Markdown is perfectly fine. Maybe if you want to do something really fancy, it falls short of what org mode can do. But to me, it's a tool, it works, it gets the job done, and I have no problem with it. Org mode is like Markdown, in the sense that you still have a lightweight markup, plain text, and all that. But the main difference is that it has that Emacs Lisp layer on top with all the extra functionality. So it's not really the markup, it's what you can do with it. So with org mode, you can do more things that you wouldn't have in a generic Markdown editor. And these things include the evaluation of code blocks, and you can get the results, and you can actually feed the results of one code block to another. So you have like a literate program, as they call it. You can take your document and you can export a section of it into HTML or many, many other formats.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use org mode to do your agenda, and you can use org mode to link to other documents or buffers. So really, org mode is, what if we have Markdown and then we organize our entire life using Markdown? That's basically the idea.
So it's just not the format of the file itself, but it's all the other capabilities that you get that you just mentioned.
Yeah, like in principle, like if someone is committed, you could have the entire feature set of org in Markdown.
Mm-hmm.
Because then the difference between the two is the markup, like what constitutes a code, inline code, and what is a block quote, and what is this and what is that, right? So if it is a hash for the heading or an asterisk, that sort of thing. So the real value is all the commands, all the interactivity on top of the markup.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I also use Markdown in my blog post. I use Jekyll. I use another. Yeah, it's a different Jekyll theme, but yeah. And I use Neovim for that. The cool thing about Neovim nowadays is that you can view images, so I can paste images, from my clipboard into Neovim. I can convert them to AVIF. That's the format I use for images, or I could convert them to, I don't know, another image format. So in Neovim, I paste it and I can preview it, which is cool. But
yeah, I mean, it is cool because now I remember my old days of using Vim, where for that, you would have to exit your editor, go someplace else, and then come back, and you're like, why?
Yeah, it breaks your flow completely, And people think that viewing images in Neovim is not useful. But if you have a blog post, I think it is useful, right? Because you want to see that you have the right image,
Mm-hmm. And just to say a general comment on this specific point, but I think a more general as well, which is like, what do you mean it's not useful? So something that is meant to be done on the computer, why is it not useful? The real question is, how can I do my computing in a way that I control? Like inside of my favorite computing environment, like in your case, Neovim, right? So how can I do what people do on the computer in a decent way, in an integrated fashion?
Yeah.
So let's not have it the other way around, because I think what people do is like, well, in the past, our programs were limited, therefore it's good to be limited. And I'm like, no. Our programs were limited for technical/hardware limitations, not as a matter of principle. If we don't have the technical limitations, then let's not impose further constraints on ourselves.
Yeah. I don't know. There's purists, I would say, and people that don't like that Neovim is capable of viewing images, because it's like, oh, so you're just building Emacs in Neovim now. So that is, I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, it is, but the thing is, if you are a purist, why are you using Neovim? Why aren't you using the ed editor? Like, if you are a real purist, why are you here? I mean, seriously, like, because here is the thing: you cannot get to choose how far the principle goes. Because if you submit to the authority of the view that our editor has to be extensible, then you cannot just draw an arbitrary line and say, oh, we got, I don't know, Lua, but let's stop here. We don't want images now. Like, why?
That's too far. Yeah. Makes complete sense. And I 100% agree. I try to extend it as much as possible, like let's say that I need to create a GitHub repo. I don't want to go into my browser and create a repo. No, I just, from Neovim, I have a key map, create a repo. It's going to ask me, do you want it to be private? Do you want it to be public? I want it to be private. And I create the repo because it breaks my flow. If I have to go to the browser, I don't even remember what I was doing to begin with. So I just like staying in Neovim. In a sense, I think it's trying to, at least for me, emulate Emacs without knowing, because I want it to be really integrated. I want it to be the main thing. I spend most of my day in Neovim between different instances, working on different projects. And if I need to go out, of course, to the browser or something else, it's fine, but that's what I spend my day mostly on,
Yeah, and I think this is very nice because, of course, somebody will say, but how trivial is it to go and create a repo? But it's not specifically about that. It's about the approach where, okay, I don't want just to create a repo. I have this custom command which creates a repo and also updates my About Me page on my website to list my new project, for example. And all that can be done because it's the same environment. I just wrote the code for it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay,
so it's about, be prepared to think outside the box. Once you have the option of drawing linkages between different parts of your computer, well, everything will be interconnected. So now you can work with it.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
I think people lack imagination sometimes.
Yeah. Now I have a script that allows me to set my color scheme, right? I created it for macOS. So if I set my color scheme, I have some custom colors. So it applies it in Neovim on my macOS bar on the top. Let me show you that real quick. I'm not gonna,
yes. And let me switch to, I see your screen, yes.
Yeah, but if you notice, this doesn't look like macOS because there's this bar on the top, right? This little bar. Here's macOS, but here's this bar. So when I apply a configuration, a color scheme, so I just bring them up like this with the fuzzy finder script, right? So it applies it in Neovim, the bar at the top, the B-top application, everywhere, basically, right? Because I want it to be integrated. So I'm extending my configuration to macOS, and it has its limitations, but you can do quite a few things actually. Yeah.
I think that's beautiful. And for me, that's also the idea. That's also the appeal of it. And by the way, I have a similar script for anything outside image.
Oh, yeah. For anything outside.
Yeah. But it's that idea. And I think there is the other thing, which is that a more general, again, thing, which is the computer is fundamentally a tool which at its best should allow us to express what we have in our head and to put it out there. And when we have the option of an interface that can empower us to do that, that interface should be tailored to our way of working and not we to its limitation or whatever.
Exactly. Okay. Now, sorry, we took a turn there. So we were in the demo. Okay. So what would you like to show us about Emacs?
Yes. So let me show you some general things. So I have, of course, this is not my actual agenda. But what you see right here is my org agenda. It's a custom agenda view where I have configured headings that make sense to me. So at the top, I will have tasks that are important, which I need to do, but they don't have a date to be done. Tasks that I should have done, but for whatever reason, I missed the deadline. So they will appear here. Today's agenda, where you will see things like this. By the way, I will update it. So you will see things like this, a meeting with you, and then I will have coaching and whatever. By the way, this is not real, right? So I just made
okay.
this up.
Okay.
And then my meetings for the coming days and the upcoming deadlines. And this is how I start my day, basically. I take a look at my agenda, and depending on what I have to do, I will organize my day accordingly. So I will start my day in the morning, and I will see, okay, let's see, free time in the morning. Therefore, I can do some other things rather than stay to the computer. I have my email in Emacs, and you can see, by the way, if you see, do you see my mouse?
Yep, I see
at the
it.
bottom right corner. This is a package of mine that shows counters of messages. I use a program called notmuch, and these are filters. So you can actually click on these. This is a package of mine. I won't click on it now. I will just use my keyboard. So this is my home buffer for notmuch. And again, you can see the same filters here. I will type a key. Now I won't go to my actual unread messages because it's private. I will go to packages, which is public stuff. It's on GitHub.
Okay.
So I will go there and I will see a message. For example, I am reading my email. Of course, I can reply to those emails from here. But suppose that this is your message. Like you emailed me and you're like, hey, Prot, let's set a meeting. And I'm like, okay, cool. So let me do that. I will do the org capture command. And here I have the templates that I have defined. So for now, let's imagine it's a coaching meeting. So I can do this, okay? So, or let's say, okay, we can do tasks. It doesn't matter. But let's do a task to do. So you will see that it is asking me here for the title of the task. And here there is a template with relevant data already. And I will see meet with, let's say, person, doesn't matter whom, okay? And let's say this is about Emacs, okay? And look what it produced. It produced the part that I added, plus all the relevant metadata I want to have, including a link to the original email. So I can file this, or at this point, I can set a date of when I wanted to do it. So let's say I will do it today at 21 hours. Okay. So I have that. Let's go back to and actually let me mark it as unread because then I will forget to check it back. Let's go back to my agenda and you will see it's right here. Okay.
Oh, I was gonna ask you how does it do with conflicting events? So you get another line with the same time, right?
Yes. So we have there something at 7. Let's do it 7. You get exactly that. In principle, you could define something to inhibit you from doing that. But I don't do it because anyway, I would consult my agenda before giving an idea of when to meet. So in practice, I wouldn't just recklessly put it on a date like this. I would check and then I would be like, okay, let's meet at 21 hours, for example, like this. Another little thing, but you can see it here. It's an abbreviation I have to generate a Jitsi link like this. So when I have a meeting, I will just send that link. And the nice thing here, just to say, you are in the agenda, you can open the heading, you see the information, you go, you see the email, and you have all the context there. So for me, this is very good. It helps me a lot with my productivity. I never lose any context and I can always find what I need. And this is what I use org the most for. Another thing I use org a lot, let me do it with my .emacs, but it applies to all the manuals I write, okay? So I have technical manuals, but here I will just do it with my Emacs configuration. So let's do some test for the demo. I made a change And what I want to do now is export this export to HTML. And this, of course, is a massive document right here. And by the way, let me tell you, because you were asking people how large is the Emacs configuration. So if you see the bottom of my screen, it's 18,000 lines plus.
Oh, man.
But this is prose and code. It's not just code, okay?
Oh, okay. So it's the literate config that they keep talking about.
It's the literate thing.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So here, I have the HTML output of it. And you will see I have this thing where I jump to a bookmark, if you see. I did it before already. And it will jump to a web page, to a file anywhere on my file system that I have already specified. So I go there, I update, this is my website. And from here, I will go to Magit. This is our Git client. And from here, you can, actually, I won't demonstrate Magit now. It's very powerful. But the point is that you can stage the file and you can write a commit message such as update.emacs, okay, like this, and commit, and now you are ready to merge. Ready to push.
Okay.
I won't do that now, actually. So let me do a hard reset on origin. So we are back to where we were.
Can you merge as well in Magit, or you have to go to the GitHub website?
You can merge as well, so you can handle your issues and pull requests and everything. But because I don't receive that many, and I have my email as well for the issues coming from GitHub, I haven't bothered to set that up for Magit. Okay. But there are people who do it. It's called Forge. The package is Forge.
Oh, so it's in addition to Magit or however. Okay.
Yeah, and the interface is the same. What you see here, it's just an extra package where you provide your authentication, that sort of thing.
I have a question for you, Prot.
Yes, please.
How do you get notifications in Emacs? Let's say that you get an email, right? I send you an email. How do you know that I sent you an email?
These counter, actually, you saw it already. If you see the video, there was 13 here and it changed to 14. So the way this works is that if we go again to my .emacs, and another thing that you will see me doing now is I will jump to a specific heading. I forgot how I call my package, indicator. Okay. So you see I was on line 1 and I'm now on line 10,000 plus. I jumped directly to a heading. And basically, I have this over here, which is a timer, specifically 3 minutes. Every 3 minutes, I get an update on those counters and I see the number.
Okay.
I could, if I wanted, I could have something involving a desktop notification. Let me do something for you just to see. For example, it can be Emacs. And don't worry about what I am doing right now, but you will get the idea. The test is here for you to see. Do you see the notification at the bottom right of my screen?
Yep, I see it.
So I could definitely do something like this, but because there are days where I receive lots of emails and those are distracting, those notifications, I generally don't like it.
Good idea.
I prefer the more subtle interface of the indicator. And I would say there are times where even the indicator is not useful to me because I really want to focus. So I will I will disable the indicator. So the minor mode that it provides.
Oh, okay. So you want no distractions at times, right? You can just disable it.
Yeah, like this. And you see there is nothing here now.
Okay.
And of course, you can go back and enable it again. This is what I mainly do with Emacs. Let me go to some of my packages for you to see over here. This is one of my bigger packages. Again, I will visit the file and then I will jump to a heading. Let's say I will go to a macro here, one of the macros we have, and I want to see what we are doing. Maybe I want to make some modifications. And of course, now I don't have something concrete to do. But let's say that this should be flipped, and I will do something like this, for example. And I can go around and make my edits as usual.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who use a lot of packages for so-called structural editing. So to move around between the parentheses, like I do here, if you see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Me personally, I use what is built into Emacs, which are some basic commands, and I am okay with them, if you see how I am moving. There are people who are really into Lisp and who really want to have all their parentheses balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I always have an eye for them, and I don't need a package to do that. Like there are packages where you insert one parenthesis and it will insert the closing parenthesis.
Okay.
And they will always keep things balanced and indented correctly. That sort of thing.
Okay. So
for me, that's not really important.
They auto format. Let's say that you don't indent something correctly. You can have a package that automatically indents it correctly for you, right?
Correct. And it will be really aggressive in that regard. But me, I can be messy at times. For example, let's say that I am writing my, let's say, test for a prompt. Okay, so I am doing a prompt and I am about to write here, completing read. I am about to write here what I want to be prompted for. And it's 1, 2, 3. And then I remember that I forgot to have the history. Actually, if you see the bottom of my screen, you see a yellow color background. Yep. Do you see it? Where it says hist.
Yep.
So I'm like, oh my goodness, I forgot the hist. So I will just do something like this. And then I will come back here without closing the parentheses. Look at that. And I will be like, okay, the hist is here. And let me come back here. So this is a bit chaotic, and if you are having a package that balances parentheses automatically, you will break everything. So for me, I am okay with having things unbalanced. Like here, technically this is unbalanced, this is broken.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, maybe I have it like that because I plan to do something and I know, and I remember that I need to write something here, and then I can come back here and do whatever, and add more things.
Yeah, because otherwise it's going to auto-format it to the way that I think it should be auto-formatted, and it's just going to be, you have to fight the formatter, right?
The thing is, if you think the way the formatter expects, basically you are flying. It's really fast and everything follows where you are, and in your wake, all the parentheses close behind you. But for me, that doesn't work. I think in a way that is not how those packages are designed.
Okay, makes sense. Okay.
Just to say another little thing, here you will see there is a note. So I have a small command to collect all those in a buffer and see what I need to do with them.
Okay.
That's a little thing. And from here, I can just go and read whatever I am interested in, like this. I have it here in a buffer because I need it to be persistent, but I could also have it in the mini buffer, meaning this interface that we see here, right? I could have it here as well. But I prefer to have it here because it's persistent.
Oh, okay. I have something kind of similar to that. Let me just quickly show you, okay?
Yes, please.
So if we look at my screen.
To your screen?
Yep.
Yes.
So, my headings in Neovim are a little bit different because I like headings a lot. So just let me quickly show that to you. I'm going to switch to another project that is in my notes. Yeah, that's in my notes. That's in this test Markdown file. So I can fold headings level 1 and level 2, right? So this is level 1. All of these are level 2 with another key map ZL. I think this is, I cannot see the letter, but it's level 1, 2, and 3, right? So I use that a lot. So to navigate headings, I'm not sure if it's a default in Emacs or if it works exactly the same way.
I would say it's exactly the same. For Markdown, for org mode, and also for any buffer you want.
Oh, for any buffer. Oh, okay. Now, let me show you something else, something that I came up with as well.
But just to say, of course, what I said there, depending on what buffer, you may have to do a little bit of work.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this. I have been completing some tasks here. This is not built into Neovim, something that I built with Lua, right? So in the interview, if I do here Alt X, it's just going to mark this Alt X, and it's going to move it to this completed tasks section and add the date and time automatically, right? I don't know.
Beautiful.
I like using this for this type of thing, for interviews, because I need to be marking stuff. I don't need to have it here anymore, right? I just need to get rid of it. So I just move it here. Oh, sorry. Let's jump back. Let's jump back to your screen.
Yes. So back to my screen. And of course, what you have there with the timestamp, I think that's really good. And we have it, if I go to the tasks, we can have it in a lot of ways here. But let's say let me go to the agenda, because from there, let's say I met with Alexandros and explained how to be great. So I will mark it as done. And you can optionally have all these extra metadata here, where it says that from that specific heading keyword you have, you change it to this one at that time, and you can have that. But what you have there, I also like, which is to also file them under a different heading. Of course, you can do that here with the configuration, but it's not the default.
Okay.
Whereas this one is largely default.
Oh, yeah. A lot of stuff is built into Emacs already. That's the thing, because I talked to another guy. He was a huge Neovim user. His name is Theena. He is a writer, actually a professional writer. He was in Neovim, and he switched to Emacs. And he was in Neovim Conf. He had spoken in like 3 different Neovim Conf, one of those conferences. Now he's on Emacs, and I don't think he's looking back, because he says that for writers, org mode is heaven for him, at least.
I'm curious also, because you mentioned writers. Did you cover the key bindings?
What do you mean?
Like Emacs versus Vim key bindings, like for writers? Was there any discussion about that?
No,
because of course he came from Neovim. Did you keep using Vim keys?
Oh, yeah. I think, I'm not exactly sure. We did cover that in the video somewhere. I think he's using evil mode. I think. Not sure. Not sure.
Okay. Just curious. I don't have an opinion about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he is.
Yeah. Very good. So this is basically what I do. One other thing I didn't show you is that right now I am using a single Emacs frame. The other, what you see above those tabs, come from the window manager. But what you see here is a single Emacs frame. What I normally do is when I switch to a project, this is the project prompt interface. For example, earlier I moved to denote, but I moved in a way that I actually don't normally do. What I normally do is I select a project like this, and let's go to another one just to see. It opens a new Emacs frame. You can see above, the tab above, it says denote.org. Maybe it's too small of a text, but yeah, that's it. And this is a package of mine which limits the buffers. So buffers are the files you have open, basically, and what you have open in memory of Emacs. It limits the buffers only to those in the given frame, as well as some other global buffers, so-called. And the reason I do this is because if I go back here, you will see I have a lot of buffers here now. So over the course of, let's say, a couple of hours, I will accumulate easily 200 buffers.
Yeah.
And for me, I want those buffers to be organized by project, basically. So if I go, for example, to the modus themes, I don't want to see anything else. I just want to see everything related to modus.
Yeah.
And so this is the idea here, okay?
So is it another Emacs instance, or is it something else?
It's another Emacs frame. So it's the same instance. So if I really want, I get all the buffers, and you can see them over there. You see? So I have them all. But it's just a way for me to limit them by frame. So in Emacs, we have the concept of the frame, which is, let me change the split a little bit to this. And maybe we can close Google Earth now, and we don't care about it. So we can close this as well. So what you see here, let me just have it like this. So what you see here is 3 Emacs frames. And maybe it's easy for you to
it's like tmux sessions, sort of.
Kind of. Think of them more like, let's say, the tabs you have in tmux. Is it called sessions? I forgot now. But maybe it's sessions, yes. But
yeah, the sessions are the ones that you cannot see, right? Sessions are just like out there. Like
yeah, I'm
workspaces.
trying to think what is the right the easiest way to think of it, it's that it is one Emacs thread. It's one Emacs process running, but it's many windows, like the equivalent of Windows on the Mac with the buttons above where you can click to close them and maximize them. So there are many such windows. And the idea is that you can move them to different workspaces. For example, I will put those on workspaces 4 and 3. You can see the bottom of my screen, maybe. I don't know how large the text is.
I see
so
it.
Here, 4 and 3. But they are all the same, right? So if I, for example, switch to a dark theme, which I will do now, okay? And I will go to the other Emacs frames. They are all using my dark theme because it's the same Emacs. If I increase the font size, let's say, okay? And that's another package of mine, by the way. I will go here again, font size bigger, because it's the same Emacs. So it's the same Emacs, but it's many windows. And the idea is that you can move them around, and then if you want, you can augment them with what I have here, a package of mine, to only show buffers pertinent to the given frame. What you would call a window in Mac.
Oh, interesting. The way that I do that, if I just switch to my screen, is with tmux.
Yes, and I click.
And I noticed in one of your videos that you were aware of tmux in the past, right? So that's one of the questions that I have for you as well. But this is my daily note, which is a tmux session. So if I type a shortcut in my keyboard, right? Let me type a shortcut here. 3 keys. It switches to my .files latest tmux session, right? Which is just that repo. But if I do -tr, that switches to my daily note. It creates it, right? If I don't have a daily note, it creates it, and it creates a tmux session for it. So that's quite handy for stuff like this. Or if I want to jump to my notes, another key map, it's another repo, right? This Obsidian one, you can see it at the very top. So I use tmux for that, but on each tmux session, I'm running a different Neovim instance with its own buffers. But if I change the color scheme, I still need to quit Neovim on each one of them and reopen it, because the settings are not going to be applied. So I like what you just demoed right now. You just change it in one place, and it's just going, since it's a single Emacs instance, I assume, right?
Yeah, it's a one instance, so it's like you just have many views to the same place, let's say.
Awesome. Okay.
That's the idea. And for me, that's very useful. Like what you showed with tmux is nice because you also combine it with the power of recreating something you have saved. You can do that in Emacs as well. There are packages for it. Like how I showed with the bookmarks. Imagine that a bookmark is actually arbitrary Emacs Lisp data, and you can do anything with it. You can recreate a buffer, you can recreate a frame, you can recreate a frame with all of its buffers, and so on and so forth. So it's just a matter of if you want to go down that path. So that, which you showed, where you recreate you re-instantiate something. I think that's very nice. What I personally like with the different frames of one Emacs instance is the fact that I can put them in different workspaces like this. Because let's say, for example, I am here, okay? And I now want to have Firefox on the side here. Because let's say I want to view something, okay? It doesn't really matter now. I don't have actually something to view, but let's imagine that I am doing this, let's say. So suppose I am looking at something here, okay? I need to reference it, and then I need to work with my Emacs over here, specifically for this project, right? And then let's say I want to go back to my other project, which is here. I don't want to have to mess around with this. It has to stay the way it is. And then when I am done, I go back to this one and I continue where I left it off.
Yeah, you have your environment set there. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, this is the idea. This is the flexibility of the many frames. Not to say that you cannot do it differently. Of course, you can organize it differently. The point is, for me, is to have the option of potentially having different projects running in parallel and me switching from one to the other without losing the context.
Yeah, man, what you showed right now about organizing your life in work mode is beautiful, because I cannot do that in Neovim. If I want to come up with a system like that, it would take me way too long, and I don't know if there's a solution already, but this is built into Emacs, right?
That's the thing. This is like, I'm sure you can do it. Like, if you think about it, the way you have it there, you have headings with timestamps associated with them. So you could, in principle, have headings. Let's imagine you have a meeting. Actually, let me go. So these are my, let's imagine. So you have a meeting with Thatch, and you could have a timestamp associated with it. I don't know. Let's have something like this, right? So you could have something like that in your Markdown file. So you would have your function read through the headings from top to bottom, potentially filtering by something or by the presence of a timestamp or whatnot. You collect that into a list. Then you go in another buffer and you print those using some conditions like you sort the timestamps and that kind of work.
But I wouldn't have the integration with the calendar and with the email. That's the nice thing. Then I wouldn't have to figure out how to do email, calendar. So it's
yeah. That's exactly where Emacs, and here in this case, org mode, gives you a lot of power. Exactly because of that extra work that has gone into it, and you have, like, think of it this way: the more you have, the greater the value of each of them. Because now the more potential they have to integrate with each other.
Yeah.
Like, to give you an idea, because we mentioned the calendar, and earlier you asked me about nodes. So let me do MX calendar. Okay, so here is the calendar. You can, and I have it here, you can run a function to do something with that calendar on that day. For example, here, let me see, do I have it? New or existing. You see here, denote journal. So I can go to the calendar here. Let's say I want to create a journal entry for, what even is the date today? It's already the 31st. So let's say yesterday I wanted to write something. I go here, and here is my new journal entry for this date. And this one is plain text for the reasons we covered earlier. But of course, I could have it in org mode, and this is my journal. Okay? And if I go back to the journal, actually look at that. Day 30 is marked because of some tweaks I have where my journal entries will be highlighted for the given day. Before our video, I made some changes so that you wouldn't see the private parts, but you get the idea, right?
Yep.
And just to say, so imagine I killed that buffer, so I just have the thing here. You go here and you open your journal entry for that date.
Yeah.
And again, this is the point of integration. Like, of course, at one level, this is just a calendar. At another level, I am reading data from here and I am doing stuff with it.
Yeah. So it's not just to view the dates, but actually do something with them, which is what you want, right? Because when I open my calendar in the macOS application, I can create events, but it's pretty limited. And I don't like it, if I'm honest with you. I'm a Neovim most of the day. And when I go to the calendar application, it just feels very disconnected, right? So I cannot use my keyboard motions and all that stuff. It's different. So I think Emacs excels at that specifically. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, again, I think it's mostly the spirit of Emacs, right? It's not so much Emacs, the program, because if you can do that again in Neovim, why wouldn't you want it? Like, why wouldn't you want to have a calendar interface which allows you to create events such as meetings, but also allows you to create journal entries, for example, and anything else you could imagine, like in principle.
Yeah. I have a question for you about Lisp. So what is it to begin with? Is it a formal programming language, or what is Lisp?
Yeah, so it's a fully fledged programming language. So Lisp, generally speaking, is one of the oldest programming languages. In Emacs, what we use, though, is Emacs Lisp. It's a flavor of Lisp, as they say. So it's a flavor of Lisp specifically for Emacs, basically. But it's a fully fledged programming language. You can do anything you imagine with it.
So what I do in Lua, I could do in Lisp, basically.
Probably yes. Whether it would be efficient or not, that's another thing. Actually, yesterday, I was talking to somebody who has to write code that compiles to Lua. Eventually, it has to be efficient and portable and all that stuff. And what he does is he uses this Lisp flavor, this Lisp dialect called Fennel, which is, parentheses all over the place, but eventually becomes Lua. So
yeah,
when you cannot have Lisp, you figure a way to bring it into the fold.
I had a call with one of the Neovim core maintainers. His name is Greg. Actually, I have a call with him tomorrow. Yeah.
Good.
He uses that Fennel. He doesn't like Lua at all, so he uses Fennel and Neovim. Okay.
Yeah, and actually that's one of the big things of the Clojure programming language, for example, which is like, the whole world uses Java and JavaScript, but wouldn't it be nice if they had more parentheses? So hence Clojure and Clojure.
Now, one thing that I heard in the conversation that I had, the Neovim versus Emacs video, is something that both of the Emacs representatives, we could say that way, brought up is single threading, and that there's some issues around that. Would you mind just elaborating about that? I don't understand how it works and all that. So can you clarify any of that?
So there is a technical understanding of single threading, which I think, strictly speaking, Emacs is not single-threaded, but I don't have the expertise to elaborate on that. But from what I understand by reading the mailing lists is that it's not that it is Emacs not being capable of running things async. Rather, you have to think in terms of the model of Emacs, which is one global state. And now, how do you do async operations while having a global state? So it's mostly a matter of paradigm rather than inherent constraints. In practice, of course, from a user's perspective, it means that if you run some kind of a long process that blocks Emacs, then yes, you cannot run other things in parallel. I would say, at least in my case, this is not common. Like, it's very rare that this happens. But depending on how you use Emacs, you may be in a situation where indeed you have a process that blocks Emacs and now you cannot use Emacs for anything else. You have to wait for that process to conclude. Finish. And I would say, yes, in that regard, it's not a nice user experience.
Okay.
But I would say because it's easy to hear this and be like, okay, so basically we cannot use Emacs, it's useless. I would say that this is not the ordinary use case. Like, I would say that you won't be sitting at your screen, sitting at your computer, watching the screen, waiting for Emacs to do stuff. Like, it is responsive, you do stuff, and depending on what you do, you might have an issue where you have to wait.
Okay. Do you have any issues with that at any times?
Me, no. One use case where you would encounter that issue really quickly is if you were to use Emacs as a window manager.
Okay.
There is this package EXWM.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a single Emacs process and you want that process to drive your window management operations and also run all your Emacs, then yes, of course, I can see how that will be a problem, because now imagine some app blocks Emacs and now everything is blocked because, of course, it's all managed by one. But then I don't think you gain that much by having Emacs as your window manager. So I would say yes, sure, but you can avoid that problem.
Okay. So just use a dedicated window manager then, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm. And of course, yes, use a dedicated window manager. And of course, you can still drive it from Emacs because you can have all the scripts in Emacs and you can call them directly. But yeah, that's another discussion with you.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So,
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I wanna ask you a few more questions if you have time. How much time do you have left? Do you have to?
I have plenty of time. Yeah.
Okay.
If the dogs rebel, you will hear them.
Oh, it's fine. That's completely.
But let me close the door actually, because the puppies got inside. So let me close the door, and I am here. And we continue. So yes, I'm here.
Okay. Now, talking about other topics, not only tech-related stuff. In some of your videos, I noticed that you mentioned alcohol, that you don't do alcohol anymore. So I just wanted to ask you, because that's what you hear everywhere nowadays. If I watch a movie on Netflix and a series, I see drugs being recommended everywhere, like marijuana. That's very common. And I used to do it a lot in the past. I don't do anymore. So what are your thoughts on alcohol and overall substance abuse?
So, of course, you mentioned the word abuse. And I would say anything that you abuse, like literally anything. You could take water. If you abuse it, then, of course, it's harmful. So, obviously, anything you do to an exaggerated degree will be harmful. If you use it moderately, if you use it without overdoing it, then I am not against it. I'm not against alcohol, and I am not against what is known as drugs, in this case, for marijuana. And I would even include psychedelics. I don't think they are drugs, but I would include them as well. Like, if you use them moderately, if you know what you are doing, sure. But if you abuse them, then of course you will be at the receiving end of harm, and that's not nice. Concretely, though, alcohol, the problem with alcohol in particular, at least in my part of the world, is that it is the conduit to socialization. Like, you go to a gathering, any gathering, it could be a wedding or a baptism or any kind of event.
Same here.
Well, what are you going to do? There's already wine and beer and whiskey and all the things. And if you don't drink, then everybody looks at you as if you're some kind of an alien. And like, what are you doing there? Are you some kind of a monk? Like, what is going on? Like, you should be drinking as well. So, of course, there is a lot of peer pressure. And if you feel that pressure, then, of course, either you submit to it or you don't socialize. So either way, it's not a good deal for you. If, however, you approach this the way I do, which is to make it clear that you are not judgmental, that you are not trying to be a prick and trying to criticize people for their choices, I think that it's totally okay. Like, I go to places and people are like, hey, Prot, have a drink. Here is some wine. And I'm like, no, thank you. I used to drink, but it harmed me. I had issues and I quit. And basically, my policy is zero alcohol from now on. People will be okay with it. But if you go there and you are apologetic about it and you're like, hey, I'm really sorry, my friend, but I just started not drinking and I don't mean to be offensive. And please don't take it the wrong way, but I don't want. Then the other person will be like, "Oh no, don't be shy. Here is some wine.
Just one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. One. What can it do? Look,
Yeah,
it's just this.
Doesn't hurt
And then, of course, they give you half a bottle. So there is that. If you can be resolute in your commitment to it, I think there is no problem with it. But always not try to avoid not appearing, coming off as condescending or judgmental.
Yeah.
About other substances, though, if I may say, the thing with other substances is that, of course, if you are responsible and you know what you are doing, it's fine. But then the question is, will you be responsible and will you be able to control yourself when you are in a situation with people and like you are having some marijuana and then somebody suggests, yeah, here, have some cocaine, like just a little bit, right? And then you are like, well, why not? We are just having fun. It's a good day here. So why not? And then, of course, you go down the slippery slope because if you think in terms of why not, then, of course, why not another, what do you call it, a line, and the third and the fourth, and then why not heroin and so on. So in principle, yes, if you control yourself, good. But in practice, it depends on who you are doing it with.
Yeah. And I guess your type of personality as well, because I know myself. I did it for many years, like 10 years. I did alcohol. It started with alcohol, I didn't control it. It just got out of control quite fast, and I did it first 1 day a week, then 2 days a week. Then I was doing it like 4 days a week, and then I added other things into the mix, I added marijuana. And given my personality, like it's really addictive personality, I would say, it didn't happen once. It happened twice, then it happened daily, and then it started happening more than once a day, smoking. And I didn't know depression. I hadn't known depression before that. But when I abused it, I got really depressed, But I did it too much. And it affects, of course, your brain, definitely. And it took me a long time. Then I did other stuff as well. And along the way, I did other stuff. Cocaine, I did crystal, man. It was...
Yeah, crystal.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
But I don't know. I found a way to go out. It was not because of me, my wife, and a lot of stuff happened. But I stopped. Took me like a year, or no, like 6 months, maybe a long time, because I was too intoxicated by so much stuff. Took me quite some time to see the life, in colors again, because man, when I stopped, it was hard. Everything was gray. I was really upset all the time, was really depressed. So I don't recommend it anymore. Based on my experience, that's what I can talk. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And I would say yours, even though you were not in control, sounds like a story with a good ending, right? A good resolution to it. Of course, there are people who basically never get out of it. Like you go down that vicious cycle and from alcohol to marijuana to crystal, etc., etc. And you don't find somebody such as your wife to help you and eventually to bring you back out of it. And me personally, I have friends who died young. Like I was 18 and I have a friend who died. And others who went mad, like literally. And I'm like, yeah, why? Why would you do that to yourself? Like, why would we have abuse to the point of self-destruction? And the thing is, of course, you destroy yourself.
Yep.
And you may say, okay, it's my life, it's my body, I do whatever I want to it, right? And at the surface level, that's true. But at another level, it's not just your body and then whatever you do to it, because of course you have to consider the consequences of your actions. Like if you are, let's say, crazy, somebody will be taking care of you. Maybe it's your parents, and now your parents are elderly and they can barely take care of themselves, and now they have to take care of you. Is that a nice thing for them? Or it's your brother or your friends or you are, because you are not in control of yourself, you are abusing others in your community. Maybe you're abusing your girlfriend or whatever. Is that nice? Like, so of course I would say that we have to also be mindful of that aspect of it as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's something else that I wanted to ask you as well. What are your thoughts on do you believe in like a supreme being or something? Or I don't know if you want to touch on that or not at all.
Well, I'm not happy. Yeah, for sure. Look, one of the things of, of doing philosophy is that in principle, you discuss every topic, you entertain every idea seriously. Entertaining ideas doesn't mean that you adopt them, though. Like, we can discuss anything you imagine, like from the most basic thing to the most far-fetched conspiracy theory, whatever, right? It doesn't mean that I will agree with what I am saying, but for the sake of the discussion, for me to understand it, I will entertain the thought. Okay? So that's, and I am saying this, and I have to be careful to be clear that I do not adopt the view, right? I just entertain it for the sake of the discussion, for clarity. Anyway, to the point here, I would say that even if a supreme being doesn't exist, I think it is helpful to think that it does, to operate as if it does exist. And the reason I am saying this is because, like, fundamentally, you cannot prove that a supreme being exists, and more importantly, that the specific version of the supreme being that you believe in exists exactly in the way you believe it to exist. Because, and I give one example here. If the Christians are correct, of course, which of the Christians, like which denomination of the Christians, right? But let's say if the Christians are correct, then of course all the others are wrong. They cannot all be correct. Right? But of course, if the Muslims are correct, then the Christians are all wrong. So what I'm saying is that maybe we cannot resolve this tension. We cannot say, okay, who is right? What I am saying, though, is that it is helpful to think that there exists a supreme being because you have something to think of as your highest standard in life. So if your supreme being, or if, let's say, your highest standard in life is, let's say, somebody like Jesus, and you're like, okay, I have to have this kind of behavior in my life, and that's the standard. I think now you have a tutelary figure to guide your actions. Whereas if you don't have a tutelary figure, if you are like, well, it's all math and the world is all math, then you don't have something to guide your action. Of course, you could be a good person, but you could just as well be a serial killer. It's all math at the end of the day, right? It's all the same. Whereas if you have the notion of some supreme good, I think that informs and ultimately underpins what you are doing. And if you are consistent, or rather, if you are inconsistent, you know that you are inconsistent. Like, you know that you are deviating from the path that you declare to believe in, that you would want to commit to. And so you have the northern star, the fixed point in the sky that resets you and guides you. So there is that. Now, whether it actually exists or not, I don't think that really matters. Like, if it exists, us not believing in it doesn't change anything. Like, if I say gravity doesn't exist, well, it still exists. But if I say gravity exists, again, that doesn't matter because gravity won't change because I believed in it. What matters is, how do I deal with my life? How do I deal with my surroundings? How do I deal with the people around me, with my environment more broadly? And so that's why I think it is helpful to have the lodestar, let's say, the northern star, the fixed point in the sky, this supreme good, this ideal, supreme being, however you want to call it.
I used to think very differently. I used to be an agnostic, as people tend to call it nowadays, right? Agnostic or atheist. Those are the two fashion, I don't know, terms, whatever they are. But given my, condition in the past, what I mentioned, alcohol, drugs, and all that stuff, I was completely lost. Someday a guy jumped into a bus with a little book. I'm in Guatemala, and here Christianity is the predominant religion, right? Everything is Christian stuff. But one day, I'm not into Christianity. I was, born and raised that way, as a Christian, but it just didn't click with me. But one day, someone got into a bus and had a little book from India. It's called the Bhagavad Gita. I don't know how to say it correctly. And my wife bought it because she had heard about the book. It was a pocket version, a really small book, because the original is quite big, right? She bought it. She started reading it, and she was like, "Man, there's something in this book that I'm connecting to, and it's explaining a lot of stuff, and it happened 5,000 years ago." And I was like, whatever, right? I didn't pay attention, and she changed a little bit, and I was like curious, and I was like, let me read it. I know you're just talking BS. I'll read it, see what you're talking about. I used to smoke a lot and drink and all that. I started reading it, and it changed. I don't know, something changed in me, and I haven't done alcohol, drugs. I'm not saying that is the cure, because I'm just saying what happened to me personally, I cannot explain it. I don't know if that is the definition of a supreme being, but it did help me personally, and I'm really thankful for that, So now I view life in a different way. I'm not as close as I used to be because I owe a lot, to that book and to the culture itself, because that is the one that clicked with me specifically, right? And I even became a vegetarian, And just to put a little bit of context, nobody here in Guatemala, well, a small portion of the population know about Krishna and all that, all that stuff. So it's really rare, that someone talks about Krishna and all that stuff here where I'm at, because everyone is Jesus and Christian stuff and all that. I respect it as long as it makes them better people, Everyone can believe on what they want. But I just wanted to share that, I don't know.
And I think you use the right qualifier, as long as it makes them better people, right? Because, and I want to ask you something about your case, but just to comment on this, because of course, if you have a supreme being which justifies your viciousness, whether it is to go and to colonize other lands and to enslave people and to brutalize everyone, and you say, oh, it's God's will. No, my friend, sorry, but I don't agree with that God.
Me neither.
I'm sorry, but
me neither.
Yeah. So, of course, if it's something that inspires you to do good. But I want to ask you about your case. Can you think of something that inspired you in particular there? Or was it the general, let's say, vibe of it, which was like, well, there is some depth here. These are not just people who don't have control of their lives, and they just suffer, as it were, purposely.
Like, what helped me change? Like, okay, so
like by reading there, like, did you find, let's say, some scene or some character or some statement which was like,
Man,
this is it. This is deep,
Yeah, the way that it's written, it's so authoritative. Is that the right way to pronounce it? Because have you heard about that book, the Bhagavad Gita?
I have heard it, and I mean to read it, but I haven't done it yet.
Okay, so I guess that what caught me is the authoritative way that Krishna speaks to Arjun, right? Arjun is me, right? Because Arjun didn't want to fight because he had to kill all the band on the other side, right? Man, it's a crazy story, but he didn't want to fight. So the way that Krishna talks to him is what got me. Not the battle, because the Bhagavad Gita is just a section of a bigger book called the Mahabharata. I also read that one. The stories, yeah, I love the story, man. They had a brother. It's called Radeya, but they didn't know it was their brother. They had to kill him. Man, I love that book. But the way that Krishna speaks to Arjun, I just felt that it was speaking to me, and it applied to my life, and it explained a lot of stuff, that this body is not our body. It's just something material. What matters is the essence, the soul, right? And you don't have to care about the outcome, just do the things that you have to do. So I don't know. And the wisdom, I don't know. I cannot explain it, but I felt it too, decisive, to authoritative, however that's pronounced. And it just, the instructions went right into me. And, I don't know.
Yeah. And I think, of course, there is the salient point that we say, which is what is being talked about, right? What is being said. But there is also the way it is said, like exactly when it is spoken with authority. And I think maybe it also speaks to our culture nowadays, which I think you have in Guatemala as well, like we have here, which is a culture where everybody is disconnected from everybody else. We are connected in internet terms, but as individuals, we're kind of lost.
Yeah.
And I think part of this is that we don't have authorities around us. Like you may have some authority in the sense that there is somebody online that you respect, but you don't interact with that person every day. It's not like a role model that is living and breathing next to you, and you can see and you can emulate and you can learn from, and you can feel that this person has your back.
Yeah.
So maybe there is that part as well, because I see this a lot, and I also saw it with myself, where it's like, what's the point? I don't have a point of reference.
Yeah.
My only reference is some ancient book.
Yeah, and that had to do a lot as well. The people that were selling those books, they had a small temple here in Guatemala. They were just selling the books. They just call it, giving service or just service, something like that. And my wife and I went to that temple just to see what it was about, right? And I found completely different people to what I had found, here. They say something in the church and they do something differently. In that small temple, they did what they said. And that to me was, priceless. And I was like, so you can live by the things that you preach. And I really admire that. And that had to do a lot as well. If I would have gone into the temple and people there would have been hypocritical, it wouldn't have been the same, I think. I'm not sure. I think it has to do as well.
It has to do. It definitely has to do, because it's something that I see as well. And exactly what you said is how I feel about the specific denomination of Christianity here, which is that they will preach forgiveness, for example. And I'm like, well, the salient point I agree with, but I don't see you being exactly consistent with what you are saying. Like, you don't forgive anybody. Like, things happened 30 years ago. You still hold on to that grudge. You should be forgiving people. You say that people should be forgiving people. You are not doing it. What am I supposed to believe? Like, you are not convincing.
Yeah.
Which is exactly that. Like, when you see people being the embodiment of their values, there comes a point where you don't even need to hear what the values are because you see them. Like when you see somebody who is disciplined, for example, you don't need to ask them, hey, are you disciplined? Because you see it. They will show up at the right time. They will do things the right way. They will not mess around. They will always be professional about it. They will always be a model citizen, as it were. That sort of thing. This you see. You don't need to be pumping on your chest and saying, oh, look how disciplined I am. I am very good. And I would actually say, like, as a rule of thumb, people who are really loud and vociferous about their qualities and their values and who they are and what they do, usually they are compensating. They are not actually what they claim to be. They are much less than that. But I would say it's a rule of thumb, not to say that it's 100% true, but it's a good starting point.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree with that, for sure. Definitely, yeah. I like that conversation. Really, really appreciate the philosophy aspect of it. I like that about your videos. And what are your thoughts on material stuff? Because I watched the video in which you were like moving your mountain, right? You were working to dig in a mountain and all that stuff.
Of course, this could also be described in more abstract terms about our being and stuff, but very concretely, I think, because even if we have a spirit, right, like what you mentioned earlier, we still have a body. And part of what the body has is a lot of energy to do stuff. And we can describe this as the capacity to do damage or the capacity to break stuff, right? And if you never channel that capacity, if you don't have an outlet for that is benign, like if you don't go and exercise, if you don't go and explore the world, if you don't go and do some manual labor, I think all that pent-up energy will eventually be expressed in a way that is harmful. So for me, working with the land or going for a walk or anyhow doing physical stuff involving the body is important also in the sense of being calm and peaceful. Like it contributes to my stability as a person. And of course, it has all the benefits of being physically fit and your heart rate is good and you get sunshine, so you have vitamin D or whatever. Like all these, of course, are things we know about which are benign. But also this idea, because I don't know if you have ever interacted with dogs, but it's something you see with dogs, for example. If they don't go for a walk, like my puppies here, if they don't go for a walk, they are agitated. They are like they are really stressed. And if you keep them there, eventually they become aggressive and they become more or less dangerous. And yes, it's true to the point. But if you give them the outlet, they are calm. Like the tired dog is the good dog. The tired man is the good man by extension.
Yeah, good point. Makes sense. And what are your thoughts on material things? Like, we live in a material world right now and everything is belongings, I'm a materialist, I must admit, I love Apple stuff. So a computer, the phone, there are tools that help me do my stuff, that's what allows me to record these videos and all that stuff. Microphone, keyboard, monitor, watch. What are your thoughts on material stuff?
I think materials have to be separated in two categories. So one is your belongings, which is the tools you need to do your work, the place you have to live, that sort of thing. And then two would be property beyond that. And for me, I would say belongings, yes, you should have all your belongings. Like you shouldn't be in a state of precarity, in a state where a little tweak in the world and you are finished, you are homeless. Like you shouldn't be in that situation. So your belongings should be secure. You should have all the things to do to live decently. But beyond that, if you tell me, hey, I'm a materialist, therefore I claim all this mountain for myself and I will enslave everybody here and blah, 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 then I'm like, yeah, this kind of material, no, I don't agree with that. But the belongings, yes, for sure.
Okay.
So for me, it's that. And you could call it greed, but I don't think that's the right word for. I would say it's mostly a matter of what is sustainable for you and for others. If everybody wants to claim the mountain, then eventually the only option is conflict. It's war. Like if you want the mountain and I want the water, well, someone has to die. So that's not really sustainable for everyone.
Makes sense. Okay.
Let me. If you have another topic, let me open the door to the puppies.
Yeah, it's fine. I have a few more questions.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So let me open the door to the puppy. And give me a second. To also do something there for the other dogs.
Go ahead.
Because of course they will be active now. So yeah, I prepared everything for them.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Okay.
There they are. There.
Okay. I just have a few other questions. And going back to technical stuff.
One second, because the puppies are not going outside. Let me take them out.
Okay.
Let them. And by the way, I don't know.
Oh,
if
you have them there.
Yeah. 1 second. I leave them here. Let me just leave them out. Yes, please. So I'm back.
Okay. Now, your thoughts on what everyone is talking about lately, AI. Do you use AI? Are you in favor? What are your thoughts on it?
I'm not against. Let's start with that. I see it as a tool, and as with every tool, it has use cases which are good and use cases which are bad. Like, think of a hammer for a second. A hammer is a tool that if you hold the wrong way, so if you hold it very close to where the metal is, you will harm yourself. So is it because the tool is bad? No, it's because you are doing it wrong. And the same is true for AI. If you use it the wrong way, you will harm yourself. Maybe not literally, but you will be doing something not good, not useful. If, however, you use the tool in a way that augments what you are capable of, then sure, yes. Like I have seen people who use AI, like coding assistants, to refactor code in a way that is quick and efficient. And I'm like, yeah, this is a compelling use case. That's very good. And then I have seen people who use it to ask about issues that the AI has no business knowing about. And then the AI will eventually hallucinate. And then I don't know who is benefiting from that. Like nobody.
Okay. So you use it as a tool, depending on how you use it, right?
Yeah. It's a tool. Use it for what it's meant to do, and it's good.
Oh.
But as with everything, don't assume that you have the panacea, as we say, which is the one thing that cures everything.
Yeah. No. Okay. What layout do you use on your keyboard, by the way? Is it QWERTY?
So it's QWERTY, yes. I tried the Colmac for a little while, but it was severely harming my productivity, and I really needed to get stuff done. Maybe I will revisit that topic at some point, because I understand the value of an alternative keyboard layout.
Okay. The final question that I have here is, what is the best way to support you monetarily? Like, do you have any recurring options, like a Patreon or something, where people can just have a recurring option? Because, okay, one-time donations are good. You're not gonna say no to a one-time donation, but you don't eat once a month, right? You don't give food to your animals once a month. So I think recurring options are just a nicer way. That's just my personal opinion, right? So what is the best way to support you?
So what I normally do is I tell people that we could do coaching. So if they want to support me, they can give me some money for coaching, but get something in return. That's the idea. Like we could do anything about Emacs or just a discussion like this one. It could be like that. But if they don't care about coaching and they still want to give me money, of course, there is the one-time donations. Otherwise, for a recurring option, they would have to go to GitHub or LiberaPay and do it via those platforms. I haven't checked Patreon. Like in principle, I'm not against it. I just haven't had the time to look at the various options.
Okay. So in GitHub, if someone wants to set up a recurring donation, they can do it there in GitHub, right?
Yeah, and there are people who do that already, though usually it's tied to coaching. Like we will meet, let's say, every Monday, and then they are like, okay, let me set up GitHub for that. And then we also meet every Monday. But really, it's for them to do the donation, and then they get something in return.
Awesome. Okay, awesome. Now, anything you want to talk about or anything before we wrap it up? Is there anything you would like to discuss?
Yeah. Because we covered Emacs, but as well as general life issues, I would say that here there is an element, a thread that runs through everything. And I think it is the idea of being considerate, of being mindful of what it is you are doing, what it is you are doing with your computer, what it is you are doing with your life. And I think the kind of person who wants to control their computer, so to use Emacs or Neovim in a way that makes sense to them, I think it's the same mindset that then applies to life. Like you want to control your computer, but you don't want to control your life. That would make no sense. You see what I'm saying? So I would say that eventually what happens is that this kind of integrated view we have of the computer, we eventually have it for our life. And then we think of like, okay, what do I eat? How do I behave? Where do I live? What my consumption is like? How can I be an example to be followed? How can I embody the values that I aspire to have? Or how can anyhow I embody what I claim? That sort of thing. And I think basically it's integration and it's being holistic in that regard, all encompassing.
Okay, amazing. Okay. I'm going to leave a link to your YouTube channel, also to your website, right? In the video description. I just wanted to thank you for your time, Prot. I love your videos.
You're welcome.
Yeah, appreciate all of that knowledge. So just wanted to say
thank you very much. Thank you. And just to say, well done with everything you do. And keep doing it. And I have watched a few videos and I already downloaded more to watch. So there is that. Very interesting.
Yeah, we have to do a round two, Neovim versus Emacs, and would be nice if you could join as an Emacs.
In principle, count me in. Of course, depending on the hours and all that. But in principle, yes.
Awesome. All right, Prot. Thank you very much. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
Take care. Goodbye.
Bye. Notice how I was able to jump to this tmux session here. And the reason you're here is because I want to thank the different YouTube members. You should be able to see their names listed here. The first CEO that joined Web23, web23.com. We have 3 executive producers and the other YouTube members. I also want to thank the people that have donated in Ko-fi. If you like my videos, remember that you can consider becoming a member. That is what helps keep the channel going. Remember that if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. That just tells YouTube that the video is interesting for other people. Leave comments. Watch the entire thing because that increases the average view time. And the more view time a video has, the more YouTube shows it to other people. So yeah, every view counts, every view helps, every comments, every like. So support the channel however you can.